Hey everyone, I'm Nico and I want to talk about 5 really cool licks that Kirk Hammett played on Metallica's debut album, Kill 'Em All. Because it's such an important record, I wanted to discuss some of the music contained within those 10 tracks. Now, Kirk Hammett's excellent lead guitar playing on that album has been influencing heavy metal guitarists until this day, and yet I feel it tends to be somewhat overlooked. So I thought it would be cool to highlight some of the licks that he played on there that stood out to me particularly. Now, before I go any further, I want to add a quick little disclaimer. I know that the first 2 licks I'm going to show were originally created and played by Dave Mustaine, so I want to give full credit to him for those. They're 100% Dave's licks. However, as this video is specifically about the album Kill 'Em All, which featured Kirk Hammett on lead guitar, I will be referring to his playing specifically. And it's important to note that while Hammett played a fair bit of Mustaine's licks on that album, he was still playing them his own way, and this is evident by how well they blend with the parts of the solos that differ from Mustaine's original versions. One thing I always liked about Kirk's lead playing on this album is that he was already showing a very distinct style. And contrary to the commonplace memes and caricatures, it's not because of an abundant use of the wah pedal. His solos are really well structured with a perfect balance of speed and melody. And the licks and runs are all very well articulated so that they sound tight yet fluid. So, without further ado, let's look at 5 of these Kill 'Em All licks, starting with the ascending lick from Hit the Lights. So this is basically a diminished arpeggio pattern. And it's moved up chromatically half a step with each repetition until the final bends on the 22nd fret to close the phrase. He deviates slightly from the pattern on the last few repetitions, probably by accident, although the articulation remains constant pretty much the whole way through. And that's one of the things that make this lick sound so exciting. The other is the use of the diminished arpeggio, which has a very distinct sound that works great in heavy metal music, because it's composed entirely of minor third intervals. The next lick is from Jump in the Fire. This one is basically a great blues lick, based on the minor blues scale played in 2 octaves. So first, he plays this classic pattern here. And then he moves it up to the next octave up here. And then he ends on these 4 double stops that alternate from the low to the high octave. I have a feeling that this lick might have been inspired by Randy Rhoads, because Randy plays something very similar to end his solo on I Don't Know from the Blizzard of Oz album. The way Kirk plays it actually reminds me a little bit more of Angus Young, which makes sense because Jump in the Fire does have a bit of that AC/DC dirty rock and roll vibe. You know, like this. The next lick is from one of my favorite songs on the album, No Remorse. I absolutely love both of Kirk's solo in this song, as they're energetic but so catchy and really well put together. For this video, I want to focus on the last lick of the second solo. Well, it's more 2 licks that work together as one to close the solo in a very impactful way. The first part is a triplet pattern where the melody moves down and up repeatedly over a double pedal point. The fingering of this lick is one that Kirk Hammett uses on multiple solos to great effect, and what makes it work particularly well is the way it's articulated. So you pick the first note, pull off to the tonic, or the root note, and then pick the dominant or 5th degree on the adjacent string. You then repeat this with the next lower and higher notes for a sort of ping-pong effect, where the melody keeps going back and forth, so you get this build-up or what I like to think of as spooling up before releasing. That release happens on the second half, that goes like this. This seemingly simple run is actually a bit of a finger twister because of the tricky articulation. You're moving up diatonically in 2-note groupings, but the pattern is in threes like the first part, so it's triplets the whole way through. For each group of 2 notes, pick the first note, pull off to the second, and pick the first note again. And you move up the fretboard until you get to the 22nd fret and then end with those 3 whole step bends. That's what I meant when I said they're 2 licks that work together as one to bring the solo to a fantastic climax. The fourth is a short lick that always makes my ears perk up. It's from the first section of the solo in Seek and Destroy, where there is a call and response thing between the rhythm and lead guitars. The rhythm plays the chromatic descending chords from the chorus, and the lead answers over the chugging low E that follows. This is played 4 times before moving to a more standard solo section. The standout lick is cleverly placed in the 3rd spot, which is very much like a vocalist varying a 4-line melody on the 3rd line to keep the listener engaged. It goes like this. What makes it so interesting is that it's a very bluesy thing to play on a song like this. Let me show you why. So it starts with a bend from A to B. Then you have this chromatic walk down starting from a sweep or a rake on the B flat and D notes, and then you hit the G sharp, G, and F sharp on the 1st string. Just that part already features a really cool mix of the minor and major blues scale. Then we go down this 1st inversion C sharp 7 triad without the 3rd, and end on a bend from the 7th to the tonic and release back to the 7th, letting that note ring out over the root played by the accompaniment. If you play that over a blues rhythm, it works brilliantly. But I digress. Here's the lick as played on the record. The last lick I want to talk about is from the song Whiplash, and it starts with another pattern that Kirk has used very effectively on a few different solos. It's an ascending pull-off pattern played entirely on the G string, and what really makes it cool is that when he gets up here, he plays an F natural instead of an F sharp, so it gives it a Phrygian kind of sound. It's unexpected because it has nothing to do with the rest of the solo, which has a high energy, minor pentatonic rock and roll vibe. In fact, he ties that with the next run, which is exactly a minor pentatonic thing. And I'm a big fan of good pentatonic playing, especially when it has a great cascading feel like what Kirk plays here. Let me do that again slowly so you can really appreciate how he phrases it. And here is how both parts sound together. And that's it for now. I hope you enjoyed this and that maybe it'll inspire some of you to listen to this monumental debut again with perhaps a different appreciation for the lead guitar playing as well. Let me know your thoughts and questions in the comments, and if you'd like to see more videos like this for other albums, I'd love to know which ones are at the top of your wish list. Cheers!